Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Koopa podcast. Koopa Mania. Koopa the Quick. All right, so it's been a while since I've been here. So, um, yeah, it's been a while since I made a review, and there's a lot of stuff that's come out. And to be honest with you, a lot of the things that have come out, I didn't really want to make an individual video for because I don't, there's some stuff I don't really have to say about. So I just decided, fuck it, let's just catch up on everything. But that's too much for a regular review, so I said, you know what? You know what? Let's make it a Koopa podcast episode. I haven't seen the, I haven't made a Koopa podcast video in a long time. So I figured, let's do it, you know? So, before I'm going to review 4 things today. But before I do, I want to catch up on some things that came out in 2023 that I didn't review. And I thought it would be fun. So, let's do it really quick. Beau is Afraid. Ari Aster's 3rd movie, also his 3rd best. No, I'm kidding. I really like this movie. I think I like it a bit more than Midsummer, but not as much as Hereditary. Joaquin Phoenix gives a great performance. It's hilarious. It's dark and disturbing, and it's got a really great ending. 8 out of 10. Poor Things. Probably my 2nd favorite movie of the year. Love this movie. Emma Stone gives a very brave and fearless performance. Brave and fearless are the same thing. I don't know why I said that. But she is really, really good. It's a beautiful movie to look at. It has a fantastic score. Everything about the movie is just so wonderful. I don't want to go too in depth with it because that would take forever, but I love it for the same reasons that everybody else that loves it loves it. This film is a bit polarizing, and if you didn't like it, I totally get it. It's not for everybody, but for me, it really worked. I really loved it. Um, I think people who are dismissing it as just porn and nothing else, in my opinion, I feel like there's more to it than that. And I really love the movie, and I would recommend it. 10 out of 10. The Holdovers, really, really wonderful story about a kid and a teacher who are both kind of assholes, but they learn. It's nothing groundbreaking. It goes where you expect it to go, but it's still a really nice movie, and I would recommend it. Great performances. Love the sound that made it look and feel and sound like a 70s movie. Yeah, 9 out of 10. Barry, the series finale. I reviewed the show, but I didn't talk about the series finale. Really loved it. Last 10 minutes are hilarious and dark at the same time, which is everything that makes Barry great. 9 out of 10. Wonka, really, really fun time. Timothée Chalamet, he's just a silly little guy, you know? Just really nice, whimsical little movie. 7 out of 10. Spider-Man 2, not as good as the first game, surprisingly. I feel like this game was a little undercooked. It felt like there wasn't as much content in this one as there was in the first game. But it's still very fun. It's fun being Spider-Man. It's fun swinging around, beating up crooks. And yeah, just really liked it. Thought the story I thought the story was insanely predictable. I thought the characters were pretty weak. The game really, really wanted to be like a Naughty Dog style story-based game, and it honestly, I that was some of the worst stuff in the game for me. Just because if the characters in the story was better, I wouldn't mind it as much. But the story, even if you don't know like Spider-Man that well, you know exactly where the story's going. You know what I mean? So I would give the game a 7 out of 10. I think it's a really fun game, but, definitely got a lot of issues. But I am excited for the Wolverine game. Past Lives. Really wonderful story. Very personal. Very human. Really would recommend this movie. Greta Lee was awesome. I actually wish this movie got nominated for more Oscars, but, really, really enjoyed this film. Really love the cinematography because it's not too showy or grand, but it's very meticulous. Like, you can tell with every shot, they're like, this is a very simple shot. How do we make it? Because the camera itself isn't moving that much, but there's so much framework in this movie where it's like, how do we make this shot look great with the lighting and just, God, really loved it. Maestro. This was bullshit. This is the kind of movie where it's like they might as well have not even released it. They might as well have just sent it to the Academy in an email because that's who it feels like it was made for. You know what I mean? Like, it was made for the Academy. Everything about this movie, every decision, it feels like it was just like a calculated, like this will get us nominated for an Oscar kind of thing, you know? So yeah, didn't care for it. 5 out of 10. Killers of the Flower Moon was very, very good. Nothing much to say about it really. Very, very good. Leonardo DiCaprio, Lily Gladstone, two performances that I would put in my top 5 of the year. Just a really tragic, disturbing story, and it's told with a lot of respect. And I think it was just a really great movie. I don't really have much to say about it, honestly. I was just watching it, like, yep, Scorsese making a good movie. It's like going outside and being like, yep, the sky is still blue today. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, it's almost like it was so good that it was like it's just a given. Like I knew, like it met my expectations, you know. And I don't mean that as a bad thing. I really loved this movie. I thought it was very good. I've seen it twice now, actually, and yeah, no, really loved it. 9 out of 10. My only complaint is I felt like the score was a little repetitive because they play that same bow 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 bow. They play that like 10 different times in the movie, and I'm like, all right, guys, can we use a new track, please? The Curse. So I love Nathan Fielder. The Rehearsal is awesome, and Nathan for You is also just one of the best shows ever. So I was really excited for this, and I really liked it. I did enjoy it. I thought Emma Stone, Nathan Fielder, and Benny Safdie were all very good. However, when I finished it and I watched the finale, I thought to myself, that season finale, I feel like you could just watch that episode. You could just watch the season finale, and you'd basically get the same experience out of it. You know what I mean? Like it really, it just, I don't know. I didn't feel like I wasted my time watching the first 9 episodes because I did enjoy it. I just feel like if you want to watch this show, you can just watch the finale and like you'll get the same experience. You'll get everything you need to out of it. But still, like it almost felt like the season finale was like a short film. Like you could just watch it as a short film and be like, all right, you know, all right. I also watched Bottoms, and that was hilarious. 8 out of 10. Anyways, so now let's get into the meat and potatoes of this video, and we're going to review 4 things. Not poor things, 4 things. That was a shitty joke. All right. So first off, I want to talk about the live action. Wow, that's really shitty quality. I want to talk about the live action Avatar show. So, I don't know if I've ever said this on the channel, but Avatar: The Last Airbender is one of my favorite shows ever. It's just amazing. I mean, it's got great characters. It's got a wonderful world that you can really get invested in. It's funny. It's got a beautiful ending that ties up everything perfectly, and yeah, it's just great. It's just really really great. 10 out of 10 show. I've seen all of it like I think 4 times, and there's certain episodes of the show that I've probably seen like 100 times. So when I heard they were making a live action show, I just thought, oh my fucking god, like cash grab. You know what I mean? Like whatever. I don't even care. I'm not angry about it because I was like, of course they're gonna remake Avatar at some point. You know. I have a weird experience with the live action movie, which was I watched it like when it came out as a kid, and I was like, okay, that was a movie. That was like Avatar again, but with real people instead of drawings. Like, all right. And then I didn't watch it for like 12 years, but I knew it was bad. And then like I ended up dating a girl who really loved Avatar. It was like her favorite show. And I suggested to her as one of our dates, I said, "What if we watch the live action movie and make fun of it?" And that's what we did. And it was really fun. So I had a good experience with this movie. I had a good time. We just sat there and we talked shit about it, and it was really funny. And then after that, I was like, "What do you want to do now?" And she said we should put on Attack of the Clones and do the same thing, which we did. That was a great night. But anyways, no, yeah, I mean, um, so I didn't really have any expectations for this show because I kind of heard mixed things going into it. So I will say, I think the show is better than Cowboy Bebop, the live action one. I think it's better than Dragon Ball Evolution, and I think it's better than the live action movie for sure. but I still think this show is incredibly mid. This show, there are some things I do like about it for sure, but overall, I just think it's a much weaker version of this story. For most of it, I was very bored and indifferent towards it, but there were a few things that kind of pissed me off. So let's get to it. Episode 1. Actually, okay, before we get to the episodes, I want to talk about the acting of this show. Because the acting of the show, I actually thought was pretty good. Sorry, my chair's fucking squeaking a lot. But I thought the acting of the show was pretty decent for the most part. There's a few line deliveries where I was like, okay, you could have used another take on that. But for the most part, it was good. It was very well done. Even when the writing, I had issues with it. I never had an issue with any of the actors. The kid that plays Aang, I thought he was great. I thought he really embodies that character. Even though they make changes to him that I didn't like, I thought the kid himself did a really good job. I'm so sorry I forgot his name. But I think his name is... I'm sorry, I don't want to butcher his name. But he did really good. And yeah, I thought all the acting was fine. So episode 1, I immediately was like, I don't like this. Because they start out and they fuck up Aang's backstory bad. In the original show, drink every time I say in the original show, but in the original show, Aang was told, you're the Avatar, and you have responsibilities that no other child has. You have the weight of the world on your shoulders, and Aang goes, I don't want that. I don't want to be the Avatar. I don't want these responsibilities. So he takes off, and he leaves, right? And so when he wakes up, he feels that immense guilt. Even though there's really nothing he could have done, he would have died anyways. He feels that immense guilt because he's like, wow, I fucking abandoned my people and they all died and I'm the last one and I abandoned my responsibilities and the whole world fell into shit because of me. The Fire Lord took over everything because I was gone, you know? Or the Fire Nation. Did I say that? My bad. Whatever. But in here, it's like Aang is just like, I'm going to go take a piss. And he leaves, and then the Fire Nation attacks and he gets frozen. And when he wakes up, he's like, oh shit. Well, I guess I'm going to have to be the hero that saves everyone. It's like, what? That takes a huge part of what makes Aang's arc so great. It takes that away because the part of Aang's arc one part that I really love is the guilt he feels. You know, he feels so guilty about abandoning his people and abandoning his responsibilities. He has to learn how to be the Avatar. You know what I mean? But in here, he's just like, from the very beginning, he's just like, all right, you know, I'm going to be the Avatar. It's like, there's no arc. There's no change to his character. He's just a good kid, you know? So I didn't like that. I'm not going to go episode by episode. I just wanted to say that in episode 1. What else? Oh, Sokka and Katara. Sokka and Katara have literally nothing to do in the show. They're just there because they have to be there. Especially Katara. Katara, except for the episode where she fights Pakku, she has nothing to do. And Katara's character, she was a gentle soul, a motherly figure. But she also, when shit happened, she got really pissed about it. And that's what made her such a compelling character, was that, yes, she was sort of a pacifist in a way, but when her friends were in danger, when people were disrespecting her, she got pissed about it, and she had this, no pun intended, she had this fire inside her that like made her so awesome to watch. In here, she's just there. Every so often she says some bullshit about, we're a family, and I love you, Aang, and blah, 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 blah. And she's just there. And no disrespect to the actress. Again, the actress did a good job with what she was given, but the character herself has no agency. Same thing with Sokka. Sokka has a little bit to do, but again, he's not as funny because the writing isn't as good. And again, he's just kind of there. He's just kind of there in this show. He doesn't really do much. And Sokka and Yue's romance in this is like way worse than in the show. So I always had this like issue. Whenever people said shit like, oh, Sokka and Yue were a better couple than him and Suki, it's like, bro, they knew each other for like 2 days. Like, I get it, you know, whatever. You think they're cute together, that's fine. But they knew each other for like a weekend, you know. And in this show, you really feel that there's not a lot of chemistry between Sokka and Yue in this show. You know, you just don't buy that they're in love. And I get it. Teenagers fall in love in fucking 2 seconds sometimes. But still, it's like, I don't know. I just didn't like it. The best parts of the show were Zuko and Iroh, who are my two favorite characters in the original show. Um, Zuko, I thought he was good. Thought the actor was good. Iroh, they really got that character right. Like no complaints with Iroh. But there were certain things that they added to those characters that I really liked. Like there's a scene where it's after Zuko gets banished and he is about to leave, and they show Iroh going with him. Like Iroh doesn't have to, but he goes. And I really love this one line where Zuko says, "It's going to be a long time before we get home," and it's like it's him telling Iroh, like, listen, it's gonna, like, you don't have to go with me. This is gonna suck, and I don't want to put you through that. But he's not outright saying it because he can't, And Iroh just tells him everything I need is on this boat, and I love that scene. I thought that scene was pretty awesome. That was Avatar to me. That was the best scene in the show. There's another scene in the show. It's at Iroh's son's funeral. Iroh's son Luten. And first off, they play the Leaves from the Vine, but like an orchestral version, which I really liked. But Zuko goes up to Iroh, and he says, like, your son, he was a great man, he was a great general, a great soldier, and he will be missed. And then he walks away, but then he turns around and he tells like this little story that he and Luten had as kids, and he's like, your son, he was a good dude, he was a great cousin to me. And he sits with Iroh, and I thought that scene was great. Like, again, that's Avatar. That's an example of them adding something. Whenever, like, most of the time when they added something in the show that wasn't in the original, I didn't have an issue with it. It's when they changed things that I didn't like, Like, I know what you're thinking, Brandon. Do you just want a shot-for-shot remake of the original show? Like, you're saying you get mad when they change things? In my opinion, it's like, no, I just don't want them to make this show at all. It's so pointless. Like, we have the original show, and it's still beloved, and it's still great. We don't need a live-action version of it. Animation is the way this story was meant to be told. But whatever. Yeah, my least favorite episode, I can't remember what episode it was. I think it was episode 3. It's the episode where they go to Omashu, because they combine like 5 different episodes of the original show into this episode, and it's so sloppy. You have the Omashu episode mixed with the Northern Air Temple episode, mixed with the Jet episode, mixed with the Cave of Two Lovers episode, and it's like, the fuck is that sound? I don't know. There's something. Oh, it's really windy outside. Anyways, no, yeah, I didn't. I thought that episode was completely boring. Boomy was a total asshole. They messed up that whole plot because it's really satisfying at the end when you realize that Boomy was the friend Aang was talking about at the beginning of the episode. But in this episode, Boomy's a total asshole, and it's like, do you really want to see Aang meet up with this guy again? No, this guy's a total dick. Just a lot of the show to me, I was just very bored. I just didn't care. I was either indifferent or just bored, There were things I liked, yeah, but most of the time I was just like, this is a boring, lifeless version of the original show, What else? Oh, I want to talk about my least favorite change from the show, which was the whole Zuko's backstory. In the original show, Zuko, they keep this the same in the new one, which is Zuko speaks out of line during a meeting that he's really not even supposed to be in, and the Fire Lord takes that as disrespect and says, you're going to take part in an Agni Kai as punishment and also to prove yourself, prove your honor. Cool. In the original show, it's revealed that Ozai is his opponent, and it's not meant to be an actual fight. It's meant to be a public shaming, a public humiliation for Zuko. You know, you have the whole, you basically like you have the whole Fire Nation watching as Zuko gets his face burned by his father. You know, it's meant to be. That's why Zuko's whole thing is about honor. You know, I know it's like kind of a joke, but that's why his whole thing is about that because he lost it all in that moment when he was publicly shamed. And I love the moment where you hear like the fire go and you hear Zuko scream because you don't see it, but you don't need to. You have this image in your head and you're like, oh my fucking god, that is so brutal. And in this show, they just completely shit all over that. In the new show, first off, it doesn't even take place in like front of a crowd in a stadium. It takes place like in the backyard with like 10 people watching. And Zuko fights back, which is like Zuko would not fight back in this situation because it's his father, and even though his father's a dick, he still loves his father, you know? And secondly, they have that really cliche moment where fucking Zuko's about to deal the killing blow, but then he stops at the last second, and you're like, oh my god. Um, and the Fire Lord, he like instead of like fucking burning half his face off, he takes this like little like he basically like takes a lighter and just puts it to Zuko's face, and it's not nearly as impactful. It's just like Jesus, like. That's another thing. They show the Fire Lord and Azula a lot in this season, and it's like what made Azula's reveal at the end of season one so awesome was that like you have Zuko, who's this angry, intimidating villain, and then at the end you have the Fire Lord saying like your brother failed, now I need you to do it. So it lets you as an audience member know like, oh shit, she's worse than Zuko. She's more evil, more ruthless, just by hearing Fire Lord Ozai say that. And you're really excited to see the gang go up against her and like what trouble she's going to cause for the cast. But in here, every scene with Azula, they just show her, and they don't. She's not nearly as crazy or angry. She's just kind of like there, you know. Like every scene with Azula and her friends is almost like, yep, they're here. They're gonna do things later, not now, but they're here. But they're not gonna do anything. But they will eventually. And the same thing with Ozai. Every so often they cut to Ozai, and like it just feels like they're padding out the runtime. It's just like, okay, Ozai's here. He's not doing anything, but he will be. I do love the actor that plays Ozai, though, Daniel Day Kim. I love him. Not just for the I am a surgeon scene. Like, I just love him. Every time I see that guy, I'm like, yes, Daniel Day Kim. Hell yeah. Um, no, yeah. I did enjoy the season finale, episode 8. I thought that episode was pretty cool. Visually, you know, it was cool. It was nice seeing like a big battle, like a big, epic, big budget version of the Siege of the North. That was cool. It was fun to watch. Like the show had its moments. I didn't hate it. I also did enjoy the Blue Spirit episode. I thought that episode was cool. Um, Even though in the original show, Aang's like, I can take you on. And then to show he's like an asshole kid. And then this one, he's like, you have to let me go, please. It's like, oh, what a little bitch. All right. Yeah, no, also the look of the show was kind of ugly because of the volume. The volume is the worst thing to happen to cinema. It looks like shit, especially every time they go to the spirit world. It just looks awful. It looks like they're in the Ready Player One universe. So yeah, I don't have a lot to say about the show, to be honest. Other than that, like I know I just bitched about it a lot, but to be honest with you, I never really got that passionate about it watching it. I never got that angry because to me it's like, yes, it does make a lot of dumb changes, but I still have the original show that I can always watch. It's not like it's not like this show existing makes the other show obsolete. It's not like it deletes the other show from existence. So I couldn't really get that angry at it, you know. I'm just like, yeah, it's not very good, but it isn't awful, and it doesn't take away from the original show. It's just a boring, you know, lifeless cash grab um, that just wants to capitalize off the goodwill people have for the original show, you know? I will say, I think the best part of the show is the cast. You can tell, like in interviews and even in the show, you can tell that the cast is really passionate about the Avatar universe, and they love being part of the show, and even when the writing wasn't great, they all did a good job, and you can tell they all really care about what they're doing in the character. I really love the cast of the show. I think the cast is great. And honestly, it's just for them that I'm going to watch season 2 and 3 because the cast is really good and they do elevate a lot of the material, you know. But yeah, didn't like the show. I thought most of it was very boring. Boring, not pouring. But yeah, I thought most of it was very boring. Just didn't really care. Yeah, mid 5 out of 10. I'm probably forgetting something, but that's all I have to say about that shit. I'm trying to think before I move on to the next thing if there's anything else I want to say. Yeah, the ending was a little weird with like Azula taking over Omashu. It's like that would have been cool to see, but I guess they just showed the aftermath of it. Again, it's just every scene with Azula is just like, okay, next season she'll be important and do stuff, but for now, she's just there. And also, why are her friends there? Like in season 2, they show how Azula is this toxic, awful person who ruins the life of everybody around her because she takes May away from her family. She takes Ty Lee away from the circus stuff that she loves doing. In here, Ty Lee and May are just there with her already. It's like, why are they there? Don't they have lives outside of this shit? It's like, okay. Yeah, 5 out of 10. That's all I have to say. Good job, Gordon Cormier, for doing a great job as Aang. Good job to all the cast. But Michael Goy, please stop working. You suck. You're awful. You suck. You made Megan is Missing, which is like the shittiest movie ever made. All right, that's it. That's enough of that shit. Next, we're talking about, so far, the biggest movie of the year, Dune Part 2. I don't want to spend too much time on this movie because I don't have a lot to say about it. Everything I have to say you've already heard before. Yes, this movie's pretty good. um, Timothée Chalamet is and Zendaya are like two of the biggest like movie stars today, and I think this movie is like it has a little something for everybody because for the science fiction fan cinema crowd you have all the good stuff, and then for everybody else you can look at Timothée Chalamet and Zendaya for 2.5 hours. So this movie has a little something for everybody. No, but seriously. So I've never read the book. I've never seen the David Lynch movie. The only experience I have with Dune is I watched the first movie when it came out in 2021. And it was good. I enjoyed it. Performances were good. Beautiful cinematography. And I really didn't mind. People complain like it's half a movie. And yes, that is a valid complaint for sure. But, I'm used to cliffhangers. I don't really mind them. Like I'm so used to them at this point. Like my favorite series of all time is Kingdom Hearts. And every fucking game in that series ends with like a cliffhanger. So I don't mind it. I didn't mind that it was half a story because I was like, you know what? It's fine. It's build up. It's cool. No issue. Um, season 2, part 2 is a big improvement, and that's saying a lot because the first one was really good, and this one is again really really good. I mean, it's Dune. So. Timothée Chalamet and Zendaya are both very good in this movie. Javier Bardem, biggest glazer of all time, he's really good. Josh Brolin. What the fuck am I talking about? Okay, let's just start from the beginning. This is a shitty ass review. Okay, so yeah, no, this movie is like just basically the climax of Dune Part 1, except it's 2.5 hours. I heard they changed a lot from the book, but I didn't really care that much because I've never read the book. But no, there's parts of this movie that are like, I'm really glad I'm seeing this on the big screen because there are parts of this movie that are genuinely epic and just really visually just breathtaking, and the sound of this movie is really well done. And the last 20 minutes of this movie are pretty fucking awesome. I'm not gonna lie, the last like 20 minutes are fucking incredible. It was one of those movies that just made me happy to be in a theater because I'm like, God damn, I am like, this is an event. This is a cinematic event, and it feels like it's been a while since we've had that. And I'm not talking about that bullshit like No Way Home, fucking dumb shit. Like, I mean, I feel like I was watching like a modern day Lord of the Rings. Dune is very different from Lord of the Rings, but it felt like that same type of scale in terms of what it means to cinema. I sound like such a pretentious asshole, but no, I felt like I was watching an event, and I mean that in the best possible way, and I really just enjoyed the movie. I gotta say, I think my favorite part of the movie was Austin Butler. Austin Butler was just so much fun to watch. Sometimes, listen, I like three-dimensional villains who are sympathetic and you can get behind what they're doing, like Hans Gruber, blah 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 blah. But sometimes I just like villains who are just complete assholes and just crazy. You know what I mean? So I loved Austin Butler in this movie. I think he was my favorite part of it. Um, no, yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. All of, it was awesome. Like I really like, it's one of those movies where it's just like you can't really explain why it's good. You just gotta see it. I really did love the arc of Paul Atreides. I thought that was super well done. I didn't know it was coming, and I really enjoyed it. Um, I will say it's not really a complaint, but I do hope that Dune Messiah. I don't know the story of it, but I really hope that it has a conclusive ending because all this movie definitely ends more definitively than Dune One, but it still leaves a lot open for Dune Messiah. So I'm kind of hoping that Dune Messiah does give me a satisfying conclusion. Not really a complaint, just a thought I have. I don't know the story. I don't know if they're going to change it to make it more conclusive, but whatever they do, I'm excited for it. And I just hope Dune Messiah really like I just hope it ends in a satisfying way. And I'm sure it will. I don't think that they'll fumble it. I don't think my boy Denis Villeneuve will fuck it up. No, yeah, really like this movie. I'd give it an 8. 8 out of 10. I can already think of like 7 Oscars that it's probably going to win. Best production design, best sound, best cinematography. um, no, yeah, really good. Paul Atreides. People are putting him up there with Anakin Skywalker and Aaron Yeager from Attack on Titan. Now, I've never seen Attack on Titan, but if his arc is similar to Anakin's and Paul's, then yeah, I kind of want to watch Attack on Titan now. But yeah, no, great movie. Great. 8 out of 10. All right. The next thing I'm going to talk about, I'm not going to be as positive about. So I'm going to talk about the show Invincible. Ale, if you're listening to this, just click off now because I'm not going to say anything that you haven't heard like 100 times. Okay, so Invincible. It is one of the most watched shows on the planet right now. Everybody loves it. Everybody thinks it's great. Best superhero show. I don't I don't like this show. I don't like it. I think it's very boring. And let me just say, I'm going to bitch about the show a lot. Let me say something. I am not trying to convince you that you are wrong for liking this show. I'm not trying to convince you that I am smart by not liking it. I'm not trying to change your opinion. I'm just saying why I personally don't like this show. If you like this show, if you think it's awesome, that's awesome. And I'm not saying that in a condescending way. That's amazing. Like, Everything Everywhere All at Once was a movie that I didn't really connect to as much as other people. I thought it was all right. It was good, but I didn't love it. But I was really happy to see the impact that that movie made, and like it really like impacted a lot of people in meaningful ways. And I'm very happy. And this show's doing the same thing, which is great. But for me, I don't really like this show. I think it's a very generic superhero story that doesn't really add anything new, and I just don't like it. So let's get to it. Season 1 came out in 2021, and I binged the whole show in like 2 days. And I remember thinking to myself, this show is really boring. Everything it does, I've seen done better. Like Mark's whole thing, oh, I gotta balance being a superhero with being a normal teenager. It's like, wow, I haven't seen that before, except in Spider-Man, Danny Phantom, you know, American Dragon. I've seen that shit 100 times. Oh, I've got to balance my relationship issues with being a superhero. It's like, wow, I've never seen that before. Everything about this show, I feel like I've seen done better. It's like Omni-Man's an evil Superman. It's like, wow, I've never seen that before. Homelander, Brightburn, Injustice. Like, I've seen it done before. Omni-Man is a better character than Brightburn and Injustice Superman. I'll give you that. Um, oh, there's a new the old superhero team died, and now a new team of young superheroes has to take over. It's like, wow, I've never seen that before. You know, there was a shitty Marvel animated movie called The Next Avengers: Heroes of Tomorrow, and it just reminds me of that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Um, that was my chair. Cecil, the tough and gruff government official. It's like, wow, I've never who oversees all the superhero shit. It's like, wow, I've never seen that before. Even minor characters like the Mark Hamill character. It's like, man, this character is just a less entertaining version of Edna from The Incredibles. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know. I'm gonna stop being an asshole. But honestly, my issue for this show, even taking out all the unoriginal shit, is just I just think it's boring and repetitive. Every single episode is the same shit. It's Mark trying to be a teenager, but then his superhero's duties call him to be somewhere else, and then he has to explain it to the people in his life, like, oh, I was here, blah 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 blah. Like I was, I'm not a superhero. I got to keep my secret identity, blah 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 blah. You know. It's just like every episode is the same goddamn thing. Episode 2, it keeps cutting back to the same battle that Invincible keeps going back to and fucking up. It's just like, oh my god, like this is so boring. Keep in mind, I'm talking about season 1 right now. I'm not talking about season 2 yet, but um, no, season 1 is just very boring. Omni-Man is a good villain. He's a good obstacle for our main character, but as a character on his own, I don't find him that interesting. I've seen it all before. Homelander he's like 10 times more interesting than Omni-Man as a character, you know? I don't give a shit that, yes, Omni-Man would beat Homelander in a fight. I just think Homelander's a much more interesting character. And, even, Rudy, the character of Rudy, like his storyline, well, I guess I'm jumping into season 2 a bit, but his storyline in season 1 was very boring. I did not care about it whatsoever because it's not interesting watching a robot with no life behind him try to make bullshit. You know what I mean? He's like, I'm going to make myself a human. It's like, I don't care. I don't care about this character, so why should I care about his arc? Every single scene in season 2 with Rudy is just people telling him, you're an asshole and you have robotic emotions. It's like, yeah, no shit, he's a robot. But every single scene is just him being like, I don't have emotions and I want them and I can't and I want to be a normal person, but I'm not. It's like every single scene is like the same thing. The point of every scene is the same. Um, And another issue I have with the show is the dialogue, which, there's a lot of scenes in the show where they just kind of tell you, like, what's going on. Like, they try to get the point of the scene across to you in the most, like, shallow way possible. And season 1, at the end, spoilers, but at the end, they have this scene that really pissed me off because it's the climactic fight scene between Omni-Man and Invincible. Omni-Man's beating the shit out of his son. But then he has that moment where he remembers his son at a baseball game. They have that flashback. And and then he's about to hit him. But then at the last second, he's like, I can't do it. And he flies away. But he doesn't kill his son. And it's like, what really pisses me off is people were shitting all over The Last of Us 2 for doing the same shit. There's a scene at the end of Last of Us 2 where the fucking main character is about to kill somebody, but then at the last second they don't, and everybody shit all over it. Everybody was like, oh, cliche, bad storytelling. But then fucking Invincible does the exact same thing, and everybody's like, oh my god, it's so emotional. It's the same fucking thing! It's the same fucking thing! And people are like, oh, it's so emotional. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, but anyways. Yeah, no, it was very cliche. It's like, was this shit written by a 14-year-old? Like, it's so cliche. Everything this show does is so fucking cliche. Like, I've already mentioned, like, all the things it does that other shows do better. You know? It's so predictable. And they even have the gay best friend stereotype, which is like, really, it's 2024 and we're still doing the gay best friend stereotype. Like, if you actually had balls, you would fucking make the main character gay, but you don't. You know? Whatever. And yeah, I didn't like season 1. I thought it was very boring. And I have this question. And again, I'm not saying people are wrong for liking this show, but I have a genuine question. And anybody who likes this show, I want you to answer this question. And I'm not saying this to criticize the show. I'm genuinely asking. Let's say this show was exactly the same. Let's say that it's the writing and the characters are all exactly the same. Everything about the show is exactly the same, but you take one thing out, which is the violence. You take all the gore, all the violence out of the show, but it's the same story. Would people be praising the show as much as they are? Like, I feel like that's the only thing that makes it different. And even then, it's not anything new. There's plenty of superhero properties with a lot of violence in it, like Spawn, The Boys, The Crow, and like I feel like that's the only reason people say like this show is such a unique, subversive show. It's like it's not. It's a generic story, but the fact that it has violence in it just makes it seem more different because nowadays a lot of comic book shit we get is like PG, PG-13, you know? If you think that the story is good even without that, then that's great. But for me, I feel like it's a crutch that the show uses to make itself seem a lot more unique than it really is. That was my arm. I just popped my arm. But yeah, I just found a lot of the show very boring. I didn't care about a lot what was going on. And that's just a personal preference thing. I don't really have any reason to back that up. It's just for me. I just thought it was boring. So we get to season 2. And you're probably wondering, did you like season 2? Did you hate it? Well, I watched all of it. And it's slightly better. So I would probably give season 1 a 4 out of 10. I think that's fair, a 4 out of 10. And I would give season 2 a 5. So it's a slight improvement. I still don't really like this show that much, but it's slightly better. It still has a lot of the same issues I had with it though. First off, I want to talk about Amber because she's a big part of season 2. Listen, can we stop pretending like this isn't the most predictable storyline in the world? Now, keep in mind, this review is coming from the perspective of someone who hasn't read the comics. I don't know what the fuck happens in the comics. I'm just watching the show. But every time Mark and Amber are on screen this season, I'm just like, just break up already. We all know what's going to happen. We all know what's going to happen. He's going to realize that Amber's not the one for him, and he's going to realize Eve is the girl for him, and he'll get with Eve. Like, we all know. Like just it takes them 6 episodes to break up, and it's just like, God damn, just break up already. And then at the end of the show, he like is about to touch Eve's hand, but then he doesn't. It's like, stop dragging this out. We know what's going to happen. He's going to get with Eve. Stop pretending like we don't know this. It's just annoying. And they spend it, like, all of episode 6 is about that relationship, and it's just a waste of time because you know what the fuck's going to happen. And also, Robert Kirkman, I don't really like anything Robert Kirkman writes now that I think about it, but Robert Kirkman said this show could go on for like 8 seasons or 10 seasons. And watching this show, season 2, I was like, you're goddamn right it can, because nothing happens. This show is moving at a glacial pace. It seems like the core of the story is the Viltrumite and the Viltrumites' war or whatever, but it feels like nothing got advanced with that this season. Like, we learned some new things about it. Like, we learned who Anissa was and who some other Viltrumites are, but they don't do anything. They just show up to be like, yes, these are characters that exist, and they'll do something later, but they don't do anything this season. It felt like nothing in the plot got advanced. And the show is really repetitive. Every scene with Debbie in the first 4 episodes is just her crying. Every scene with Mark is just him like being like, how am I going to make it work with Amber? And Rex is my least favorite character in fictional history. I don't like Jason Mantzoukas' voice acting. He always voices like an asshole character. But the problem with that is I think he's so used to that he plays it even when he's not supposed to. Like in this season, Rex, who is like really annoying, but he's meant to be annoying. In this season, he's supposed to like grow as a person and become a better guy. But Jason Mantzoukas is still voicing him as like an asshole even when you're supposed to start liking him. And it's just so like, dude, fucking be a better voice actor or recast him. He's a terrible voice actor, and he just makes this character like so annoying and unwatchable. No, yeah, I mean, and another issue I have with this show is the dialogue. A lot of the dialogue in the show is it makes me think that the writers think we're dumb. Because at the end of season 1, after the whole Omni-Man shit goes down, Alan the Alien, who is a character I find very annoying, by the way, he tells Invincible, he's like, man, it's insane that a Viltrumite left their post. And it's like, okay, got it. I mean, I already knew that. And he's like, it's just insane. I mean, it just doesn't happen. It's like, wow, thanks. My baby brain couldn't figure that out for myself. Thanks for spelling it out for me. And they do that like 100 times in the show. There's a scene like episode 6, Mark and Amber both have like therapy sessions where they literally just talk about why their relationship is bad. It's like, yeah, he doesn't get to spend a lot of time with me, and I feel like I'm not good enough for him, and all this shit. And it's like, we know this. You don't need to spell it out and say it out loud. Like, we know this. Like, the whole episode is just telling us shit we didn't. Oh shit. The whole episode is just telling us shit we already know. Like, we know that they're not going to make it work, and then we know that they have issues. You don't need to spell it out for us. And then in episode 4, the episode where Omni-Man like takes over that Mantis planet, he fucking the at the end of the episode, so those aliens, they only live about a year, and they have a kid. But since the kid is half Viltrumite, he's going to live much longer than a year. So he's like, Mark, can you take this kid so that he can have a life? And you understand why, because those aliens only live a year, and he's going to outlive them all. So she wants him to have a good life. But then she says, like, Kim Wexler, she's like, oh, you know, we're not going to be able to give him the life he deserves because we only live a year and he'll live on past us. And it's like, okay, got it. And then they just keep repeating it. She's like, it's crazy. In a year, he'll be alive and we'll all be gone. It's like, we get it. Stop treating us like we're fucking stupid. Like, there's so many scenes like that. And, yeah, I don't know. And then at the end, Mark gets rescued by the future Guardians of the Globe, which is the biggest Deus Ex Machina, by the way. He gets rescued, and the future version of Eve tells Mark straight up, like, I'm in love with you. Tell Eve that you love her. It's like, we understand! Like, that's a compliment that I will give the show, is that you could tell that Eve was in love with Mark, but it was subtle. Like, they don't have her, like, swoon over him every 5 seconds. You could just tell that she was in love with him, but, like, they don't spell it out. It's like really subtle, and I really like that. But then at the end, they're like, maybe the audience doesn't get it. Maybe they don't understand that Eve is in love with Mark. We need the future version of her to tell Mark that she's in love with him. It's so fucking annoying. Like, there's so many scenes like that where the writers just tell the audience outright what's going on because they think we're too stupid to figure it out for ourselves. And then, like I said, they don't get together, which is like, just have them get together. We know what's going to happen. We fucking know. It's such a generic love story. And then at the end, Omni-Man's like, I think I miss my wife, which is treated as like this big line. And again, it's like, we know. I'm really getting mad. Like, we know he misses his wife. We know based on, again, it's subtle the way they write Omni-Man's character. You can tell that he really does care about his family, even though he's telling himself he's not. But then at the end, because again, he needs to spell it out, I think I miss my wife. It's like, we know! Ugh, come on. Can you please, just for once, have some subtlety in your writing? That's another thing. In season 1, he tells Mark, there's that famous line, he's like, I do love your mother, but she's more like a pet to me. Again, it's like us telling him, oh, Omni-Man thinks he's above everybody. It's like, we know. We don't need him to spell it out for us, but you have him say that anyways because you know. But, again, it's like, why would he tell, like, logistically, why would you tell Mark that? Like, that's not going to get him on your side. Like, it felt like that line didn't come from the character saying that to another character. It felt like it came from the writers trying to tell the audience more about Omni-Man without making it good. So, you're probably wondering, Brandon, you're shitting all over the season, but you said it was a slight improvement. Well, yeah, it was. Because even though I didn't like most of this show, there were a couple things that I liked. I liked the joke about saving money on animation, which was in episode 7. I thought that was pretty funny. I like Adam Eve, and I like Debbie, even though every scene with Debbie in the first, like, 4 episodes was very generic and repetitive. It was just her crying, which I get it, but we don't need 7 different scenes dedicated to just her crying. You know what I mean? I like Debbie. I like Adam Eve. I like Cecil. I even like Mark. I think even though what they do with Mark is very generic, I think he's a good protagonist. I think he's likable. I do slightly care about what's going on with him. So he's a good character. And Steven Yeun really brings it with this performance. And I did like the finale. I actually thought the finale, even with the complaints that I had, I thought it was a pretty good finale. Angstrom Levy was a cool villain. I was kind of disappointed that he died so early. I felt like he didn't get a lot of screen time. There's a lot you could have done with him. And I did like the finale. I thought it was cool. I liked the final battle, and I liked some of the writing with Mark's character. It was entertaining, you know. It was an entertaining finale, and I was not bored. So I am slightly interested in season three. I will admit, even though I didn't really like most of season three, I was like, okay, or no, the end of season two, I was like, okay, I can see where they're going with a lot of the things they're setting up, and I did enjoy this episode. So I'll keep watching because I am interested in certain things. I will say, whenever there's a scene focusing on Rudy, Rex, or fucking Duplicate or the Immortal, I'll just fucking like fast forward through those scenes because I don't give a shit. But whenever it's a scene about Mark or Omni Man or Debbie, sure, I'll watch it because I'm mildly interested in what's going on. So yeah, I don't like this show. I think I'm a little more negative than I want to be because I don't hate it. Um, I did think season two was an improvement. It did have some episodes that I enjoyed, but overall, I still don't think this show is that amazing. I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 10. It can improve. Season three, I heard that the story gets really crazy from here in the comics, so I hope so. And I'll keep watching it. But yeah, that's how I feel about Invincible. I don't really like it that much. Yeah. So, final thing we're reviewing today is the latest and greatest action movie, Monkey Man. So, Monkey Man is directed by Dev Patel, who I really love. I've always loved Dev Patel. The Green Knight, fucking Slumdog Millionaire. He's a great actor, and I'm really excited to see him have his first feature-length film. And I was really excited for this movie, and the trailers look good. And I think Monkey Man it's okay. I was a little let down by it. I don't think it's a bad movie. In fact, I think it's a really good movie. There was just so much holding it back for me. Um, I thought the story was pretty interesting. It's a typical revenge story. It's not like Shakespeare, but it is very compelling, and you do care about this main character. You care about what's going on, and you want to see him take these. You want to see him take the baddies down. For lack of a better term. I know that's oversimplifying it. It's actually a really, really compelling story about genocide almost, and Dev Patel's really good. The main character, he doesn't talk a lot, but he doesn't need to. It works. I really love a good revenge story. When you think of good revenge stories, you think of like Kill Bill and Old Boy and stuff like that. And this is in the similar vein to that. Um, I will say the trailers for this movie make it seem more like an action-packed thrill ride than it really is. There is action in the movie, which we'll get to, but I would say about 70% of the movie is more about the story and the characters. Um, Oops. there's not as much action as you would think based on the trailer. It's not like John Wick, you know what I mean? It's not like that. But it does definitely take inspiration from that. They even make a joke about John Wick in the movie, which is like they know what it is. And so I did enjoy the story and I enjoyed the performances, but the biggest thing that really let me down in this movie was the action. The action in this movie was really disappointing for me because I couldn't tell what the fuck was happening most of the time. There were so many cuts and so much shaky cam that it was so much that I actually felt disoriented. There were a few times in the movie where I seriously had to look away from the screen because it was giving me like literally like I know people say like oh that movie was a headache but like literally it was giving me an actual headache. You know what I mean? Like I don't know why it was so shaky, and the only two explanations I can think of is number one, they weren't confident in the choreography, even though the choreography from what I saw was really good, or two, he just wanted it to feel more high octane, heart pounding, so he's like fuck it, let's shake the camera, and it was so disorienting. For most of it I really couldn't tell what the fuck was happening, and I was really let down by that. The last action scene is a little better, but it's still not great. I would just prefer like a wide shot where you can just see everything that's going on. You know what I mean? Like John Wick and Mad Max Fury Road are two great examples of movies that don't use shaky cam. They're wide shots and the camera's moving, but it's slowly so you can really see everything that's going on. This movie, the shaky cam is just too much to handle for me, and it really let me down. And yeah, I mean, there were definitely moments that are really great. There's one scene in an elevator that I really, really loved. I'm not saying the action's horrible. It's not like a Michael Bay movie, but it just really let me down. And I really think, but I do think that Dev Patel has a lot of potential. If he wants to continue directing, and especially if he wants to continue directing action movies, I can definitely see where he can improve. And I can imagine like a really awesome action movie coming out of this guy because this is a good first feature. Dev Patel definitely has a lot of potential. So yeah, that was shorter than I thought it would be. But this is a good movie. I would recommend it. But yeah, just don't expect it to be this high octane John Wick style movie because it's not. It's a much more personal story, and it's almost a drama. But there's plenty of great sequences in the movie. Like I really love this one sequence where he's punching this punching bag, and like there's these people cheering him on, and it's really satisfying. There's a lot of satisfying moments in this movie character wise, and it's got a really awesome ending. Like the last like 10 seconds of the movie are pretty fucking cool. Um, Not last 10 seconds, like the last like 5 minutes are really fucking awesome. And yeah, there are a few cheesy moments. Like there's one moment where like the Avengers show up behind him. Oh, spoilers, God, I'm so sorry. Where like these people show up and they're like it's like the cavalry has arrived moment, and it's a little cheesy, but I did enjoy this movie. I would give it a 6 out of 10. I definitely think Dev Patel has the potential to be an awesome director, and I'm excited to see what he makes next. And yeah, 6 out of 10 for Monkey Man. And that's it. That's episode 3 of the Koopa podcast. Thank you all so much for listening. I'm back. It's been a few months, but I'm back to making videos, and I'm really excited to continue sharing what I think about movies and shows coming out. And yeah, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you later.